Hi there. Thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Jill, and I was a third generation Jehovah's Witness. Even though I am so much more than an ex Jehovah's Witness. And I've been thinking about doing a YouTube channel for a really long time. Uh, and I've been extremely motivated to do it lately because there are so many new voices showing up on YouTube, and it is such a catharsis and therapy for me to listen to other people that have been through what I've been through. And so I just decided it's time to throw my hat in the ring. I actually wrote a book, a memoir of my life, a couple of years ago and self published it. It's called Free Will by Jill McMillan, and it's available on Amazon. The link is below in the description. I decided my book's been out for a little while now, and a fair amount of people have read it, but I think more uh, worldly people have read it than ex Jehovah's Witnesses. So I really wanted to share it with the community and have as many ex JWs or current JWs be able to read my story and hopefully just it being helpful in hearing another confirmation of what you've been through or similar, and some of the things that are alike and not alike in our experience. And I decided that one of the best ways that I could possibly share my book, and thinking about ways to put content on YouTube, would be to actually read my book. My book is available on Kindle and in paperback on Amazon, but I don't have an Audible book. So I thought I'm going to do story time on my channel. So I'm going to try once a week or twice a week to read a chapter or two. And if you want the whole thing all at one time, you can buy my book. If not, you're welcome to join me in story time if you decide to subscribe to the channel. Anyway, I just want to say thank you to all the XJWs out there that have put their voices out there, whether it's by book. I've read a lot of books by XJWs. I've seen most of the videos, and it's just been so helpful to so many of us. So I want to say just keep going, and let's continue to support each other. So I'm going to start off by reading the preface of my book. It's kind of long. It's almost like a chapter length because I really wanted to lay the groundwork for people to get into the story and kind of understand what I'm doing. My book is definitely not in any way to just demonize the organization, although obviously I think it has extremely flawed, and I want nothing to do with it anymore besides being an ex member. But it does shine a light on some of the things about the organization that do make it cult-like and really, really damaging in many, many ways. So I hope you enjoy my story. I hope it's fun for you. It was really fun for me to write it, and I love having it out there. So let me know what you think down in the comments too. But let's get started with the preface. Free Will, a memoir by Jill McMillan. Free will is the birthright for each and every human that is born into this earthly existence. I want to shout it from the rooftops. Live your life. We all learn of the theory of free will at some point, usually at an age when we don't fully know or appreciate what that means. For me, I remember hearing the term in church as a child. I can remember thinking it truly was a gift from God to have free will and to be able to choose what to do with my life. I mean, the sky was the limit, right? As I quickly found out, the so-called free will came with a caveat. Well, not one, but many cautions and admonitions about the choices you might make. So it immediately translated to me that maybe it wasn't free after all, this will of mine. It apparently came at great cost to truly express my will, and it seemed that others besides myself had already decided for me what it was that I would do with my life. I was born to loving, well-intended parents who chose to raise my siblings and I in a religious, well, let's not call it prison, but confinement. They had what they considered to be the truth about why we are here, the real meaning of life, the truth of who God is, excuse me, and what He wanted from us. They also believed that teaching their children these truths was the most loving thing they could do for us. They believed that it would lead us to a life of protection, love, and eventually result in receiving everlasting life in paradise. This paradise sounded quite lovely to my young, innocent mind. It was painted on my heart like my own personal dream come true. It was to deliver a life with complete peace, with no badness like crime, murder, or war. It was to be filled with blessings. Anything I could imagine could be mine in this promised paradise, a pet tiger being one of the many things on my list of wishes. There was also the beautiful promise that our loved ones who had died would be resurrected to this beautiful place. Who wouldn't be clamoring to live for a chance to live in such bliss? But there was a flip side to the paradise. I learned from as early as I can remember that I had to follow the rules to get the privilege of living in the paradise, that there were sharp consequences to not following the dictates of God, the most powerful consequence being death. It sounds a bit harsh teaching little kids that if they don't do what God wants, He will destroy them at Armageddon. They always use the word destroy when describing God killing or murdering bad people. I think maybe destroy sounds less personal, but the message still comes through loud and clear. When this concept is presented to you from the day of birth and is ingrained in you fervently every day, you simply accept it as the way things are. These beliefs were taught to me regularly and constantly. We attended meetings, what most people call church, 3 times a week. 1 1-hour Bible study and 2 other 2-hour sessions every single week. Parents in the church were strongly encouraged to study at home with their children as well. The indoctrination was intense and ever present in my world. Everyone we knew believed this, lived this lifestyle, and it all seemed very normal. So even though this free will thing was discussed at church, it really never sunk in with me that I truly did have a choice. It's like saying to a hostage, if you are quiet and cooperative, you will not be shot. There is a choice there, but come on. So I write my story to share with people that taking back my free will was the most important thing I've done in my life. It was also the most terrifying and challenging thing I have ever done. When I finally determined I was done having other people decide things for me, I realized that I had become accustomed to allowing all of my life choices to be dictated by others. It was a well-worn, deeply grooved habit it took me a long time to recognize, let alone stop. The habit began with allowing my parents to call the shots. Of course they would, that's what parents do. But my parents in turn allowed our church to mandate our course. As an adult, my ex-husband sounds so harsh, would be the captain of my ship, decreeing how and where we would live. To my further surprise, I found that I was allowing and even embracing the dictates of friends and even society within the church as my benchmark of how to live. I blindly and unconsciously went along with the status quo. This memoir tells the beautiful story of an enchanted childhood, which began in innocence and hope. Then of how, when the rug gets pulled out from under you and shakes you loose of everything you know, the innocence erodes, the hope gets foggy. It takes some hard knocks to wake you up from beliefs you were inundated with from birth. It takes radical jarring to even have the courage to question what you've been taught to believe. Add in the fact that God will hate you and kill you if you do not comply, and suffice it to say, I was scared shitless to even entertain the doubts and questions in my mind. My story tells how summoning the courage to break free came out of human need. I craved truth, honesty, and goodness. What I had been taught, some might call brainwashed, to believe, was showing flaws, like a dark red wall that had been painted white, but the wall keeps glowing pink from the red underneath bleeding through. I could no longer ignore the pink glow. Something wasn't right. I'd always had questions that didn't get answered to my satisfaction. But faith told me to trust, to not necessarily have all the answers. The doubts I had would have been considered irreverent or even blasphemous. So making an issue or digging deeper into things that didn't sound right or feel right was not okay. I didn't want to be a troublemaker. I am, above all else, a peace lover. So I didn't want to ruffle feathers. I was afraid to. But eventually, intense need for truth overcame me. I could no longer ignore my doubts. I had to look at what was swept under the rug because I kept tripping on it. I didn't go looking for truth because I thought I had it. The truth kept showing itself to me. I couldn't fight it anymore. I had to take the sails of my boat into my own hands. I wanted control. I wanted free will. This irrepressible impulse tipped off a domino effect on all the pieces of my world. Once I got a sample of freedom, I wanted more. Taking control of my destiny was choosing to play Jenga with my very life. I pulled out pieces of my beliefs, of everything I had always been convinced and assured was true and right. In short time, my whole world came tumbling down. I stood around staring at the pieces that had crashed to the ground in horror and disappointment. It took some time, but piece by piece I started rebuilding. But I didn't use the same pieces. I got a whole new Jenga set. This time I would build as I see fit. This set wasn't even wood. I used new, untried, malleable materials and adjusted as I went. I left out completely what I didn't want. I grabbed the pieces that spoke to me, that called to me. As I rebuilt, I mourned, I grumbled, I wailed, but I also rejoiced, I laughed, and I learned, and I celebrated. My hope is that anyone reading this that has been disenfranchised from their family, their community, or society for any reason can take comfort in my story. I hope to touch the hearts of those who have chosen to live honestly and have been ostracized for doing so. My wish is to let others know there's nothing more important in this life than being true to who you are, regardless of the consequences. So, as you can see, I wrote that keeping in mind that there would probably be a lot of people that had never been a Jehovah's Witness reading the book, and so kind of laid the groundwork to get them ready for what it was like growing up in that world. Third generation, like I said, my dad was an elder when I was a little kid, and then how everything slowly fell apart over time. But I didn't end up leaving till I was 46 years old. So I had a whole lot of experience with this organization. I really hope that you'll subscribe. I hope I've piqued your interest and you want to listen to chapter 1, and I'll be uploading that later this week. Thank you for watching.